How do these captains of industry and or you might want to think of it as robber barons, how do they convince the public to accept their privileged status? How do they not inspire an uprising? In other words, why didn't something like socialism take hold in the United States? Well, it's in the wealthy's best interest to promote the idea that a person that works hard enough could rise up and become rich themselves. There's a whole culture of what we're going to call rags to riches develop in the United States. For example, Horatio Alger wrote books specifically about rags to riches. And somebody like Andrew Carnegie seemed to support the idea that it could happen. We still do this today. Think about Jay-Z or LeBron or Mark Zuckerberg. Think about how much of pop culture today is trying to convince you that you could be the next millionaire. And why would you pass laws that harm millionaires if you yourself are going to be a millionaire later? It's myth making, and the culture tries to get people, especially the upper class, tries to get people to buy into this, so that people are always trying to strive to improve themselves rather than trying to work together. The wealthy try to protect their image also by becoming caretakers of society. Andrew Carnegie advocated what he called the gospel of wealth. And in this gospel of wealth, eventually, what his argument boils down to is that the rich are better than everybody else. They were created better by God, but God didn't make them better so that they could squander their wealth on idle pleasures, wine, women, and dancing. God made them better so that the wealthy could take care of the poor. By the end of his life, Andrew Carnegie gave away most of his money through what we call philanthropy. Sorry, you can't read that very well. Carnegie and Rockefeller gave away large portions of their fortunes to charities and scholarships. This is Carnegie Hall. These are Carnegie Libraries. There's a Carnegie Library in almost every major city. This is Rockefeller Center. But notice what they're spending their money on. White, middle-class value items. They're not trying to help the poor so much as help the middle class improve themselves. By the way, the NFL does the same thing today. The NFL is technically a non-profit organization. It makes over $1 billion a year in profit. And the owners of the teams are the ones that take that money in profit. The owners take hundreds of millions of dollars in public money to build private stadiums, and they get to keep all the private money themselves. And they want a pat in the back when they do things like during October, they donate money to women's charities. This was during Veterans Day. The National Football League gave $100 for every point scored to 3 different charity organizations for veterans. It ended up being a total of $800,000. Think about that. A non-profit organization that makes over $1 billion a year wants a pat on the back for giving less than $1 million. That's less than the league minimum. That's less than the punter for the worst team in the league makes. That's NFL philanthropy, because they want to have the glory of being seen as a captain of industry. Meanwhile, they are taking public funds to make their own profits.